Hello everyone! Happy New Year to you and yours from snowy Japan. I hope you had a fantastic break. Today we are not doing an how to get rich in 2024 video. There are plenty of those out there, so please check them out. Rather, we're having a look at your finances, making sure everything is in order and does not need to be tweaked. And we're going to do that through a 5-point checklist. And number 5 might not be something you're always thinking about, so please stay in there. We are going to start immediately, or rather, as soon as I get down the slope, because it's way too cold to be sitting in the snow and do the whole video here. So I'll see you down there in a bit. I'm down from the slope, so little change of scenery. Let's talk about checking on your cost. Are you spending your money wisely, and is it getting out of hand or not? Or is there anything that you can improve upon? We're going to talk about your living expenses, your future year expenses, and your fun expenses. Let's start with the living expenses. That's everything that you need to live regularly for you and your family. So we're talking about groceries, transportation, utilities, lodging, health, education, anything you can think about that you need every day to live. This should be about 50 to 60% of your net income. If you are getting above that threshold, it means that maybe you need to do some adjustment. For example, grocery. Are you really buying everything that you need, or are you overbuying or buying items that are too expensive, or going to supermarket that might be a bit pricier? One good tip is always to be doing your grocery shopping with a grocery list. Actually, a lot of millionaires are doing that, and that's a good way to be saving money. Have a look and make sure that this bucket, which is the most important one, is within the threshold. This is going to determine everything from all of the other buckets. The other bucket that's really important is the future you bucket, in which you have savings and investment. This should be around 15%, maybe up to 20% of your net income. This is everything you need to put the money aside and to think about your retirement. So this is all the investments and the savings. I'm going to come back to that point a bit later. That's going to be point number 4. So hold in there. After, let's talk about the fun part, because we need to have fun. This is about 20 to 30% of your net income. Think about your subscriptions, your leisure, dining out, any kind of entertainment. If you are beyond this threshold, maybe you need to adjust, because this is definitely not the most important bucket. This is the funniest one and the funnier one. But if you are out of bound, this is where you can cut back. For example, do you need all of those subscriptions? Do you really go to that gym all the time? Do you need to dine out so often? Maybe you can scale down and dine in. This is probably the one the easiest, like I said, to balance around. So look at each of the buckets, see if you are within the range, and see how you can adjust. This is going to determine a lot of what is happening just after. Checkpoint number 2 is emergency fund. Arguably, this could be part of your future you cost because it's a saving, but I prefer putting it aside because it's so important. An emergency fund is money you have aside in case something unexpected happens. Maybe you lose your job, or maybe you need to take care of a loved one for a long time, and you do not want to be put in a difficult financial situation when that happens. So you have money aside just for that. The recommendation, if you are employed by a company, is to have 6 months of living expenses saved aside. If you are self-employed, it's better to have 9 months saved aside. How do you do that? On every payday, you set up an automatic wire transfer from the account where you are paid to deposit directly to a separate savings account, and you don't see the money. So it's easier, it's pain-free, you don't have to think about it, and you continue this wire transfer up until you reach the 6 months or 9 months threshold of living expenses. I can't stress it enough how important it is to have this emergency fund ready, so you don't get into financial trouble and obliged to borrow money when something unexpected happens. High interest debt. This is probably the most important part of this whole video. We are talking about car loan, consumer finance loan, credit card debt, as well as student debt. Though this one is a bit special, so we're going to put it on the side. If last year you managed to pay it off, all of your high interest debt, congratulations. Now you can look towards the future and go to the next step. If it's not your case yet, you are still repaying, or you're starting to repay this year, please
listen up, I'm going to give you two very interesting methods to pay up your debt. First thing first, you have to stop augmenting or increasing this debt. It means you have to stop purchasing things you cannot afford. You cannot, for example, carry over a credit card balance. You have to pay it in full every single month. Getting so many points is really not worth paying such a high interest rate. Now, if you cannot manage to do it, switch immediately to a debit card and get rid of all your credit cards, all of them.
Are you okay?
Yeah, completely. No problem. Thank you. Debit cards have all the advantages of credit cards without the drawbacks, so think about it. Now, to repay your high interest debt, there are two very efficient methods: the avalanche method and the snowball method. The snowball method is basically listing up all of your high interest debt from the smallest amount to the highest amount. And every month, you're going to pay the minimum of every single item in your list, and everything that's extra money that you have, you put it to the item on the top and you repay it. Then you go down the list repaying everything. It's great if you want to have motivation and quick wins all the time. The avalanche method works in a different way. Again, you list up everything, but you go from the one with the highest interest rate to the one to the lowest interest rate. And again, every month, you're going to pay the minimum amount on everything in the list, and everything extra is going to go to the one on the top. It may take a longer time, but it's the most efficient from a financial standpoint. There's no right and wrong. It really depends on how you want to tackle this debt, if you want the quick wins or the financially efficient one. Either way, you have to go at it. This is the single most important item, and until you finish with that, you cannot think about a secure financial future.
Item number 4 on our checklist: investing for your future, which should represent between 15 to 20% of your net income. This is basically part of your invest in the future bucket where you had savings and investments. We talked about savings, so now it's investment. This is okay to consider this part for this year if you are already debt-free. If you're not debt-free, then you should concentrate on it because it's going to distract you from this very important point. If you were already here last year, then it's time to continue checking if you are investing properly or if you can invest more. And if it's your first year of being debt-free without considering your house mortgage, then congratulations. It's time to build and invest for your future. So let's go through the steps. If you are employed and your employer is providing a contribution matching retirement plan, like a 401k in the US or a DC in Japan, then you should enroll in it if it's not done already. And if you're able to, you should max it out. The reason for that, it's because this is free money, all those matching contribution. So you should go at it as much as possible. If you have already maxed out with this contribution matching retirement plan and you still have money, then it's time to look at an additional option if it's not done already. And this is the tax advantageous accounts, such as the IRA or Roth IRA or HSA in the US, ISA in the UK, superannuation in Australia or NISA in Japan. Basically, you invest pre-tax money up until retirement age or whichever is the age that's defined in your country, and every capital gain, every dividend usually is tax-free. And what do you put in those accounts? What do you put also in your 401k? So we should follow what Warren Buffett is telling us. We should go for broad-based index funds and ETFs and look at having the lowest possible fees on it, because over the long run, this is gonna impact your return in investment. And try to do it as early as possible, because when we look at the stock market, that on average is giving us about 8% a year return plus the law of compounding interest. If you start very early up until your age of retirement, you can end up with a very interesting amount of money. If you happen to still have some money after that, we never know. That would be fantastic. Then you can look at other options for investing, such as rental real estate or maybe other possibilities. I'm going to leave a couple of links to videos to give you some ideas wherever you are, congratulations if you're already there. This is fantastic. It's already number 4 and you're building for your future. And now let's look at number 5, which might be something you are not always thinking about.
If you've made it this far, it means that you're on your way to a secure financial future and maybe financial independence. Congratulations. Now it's the time to open your hand and help those that are less fortunate. Maybe it's just volunteering some of your time to help an NGO around you, or maybe teach people about what you know about finance or anything that's in your area. Or maybe you can use some of your money to help any charity that's around you. Maybe it's homelessness, maybe it's hunger, child education, whatever is important to you. And it's not only important, I think this is the right thing to do, especially when you are more financially secure, to help people that are less fortunate. I hope this 5-point checklist was useful on your way to a more secure financial future and maybe financial independence. If you're interested about savings and investment, I'm putting a few more videos for you to consider. If you like this video or learned something, please give it a like. Do not hesitate to subscribe for more content like this. And if you have anything to share, please leave a comment down below. Thank you again for watching. I'm going to leave you here because I have a few slopes to go down to, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.